The text editor, one of the most important programs on your computer. This begs the question, what is the best text editor out there? I think the answer is obvious. Vim, of course. Let's get started. So, why Vim? Why bother learning Vim? Vim is this strange beast. It's got this weird modal system to it. It uses strange key bindings. Nothing makes sense as far as the keystrokes involved. It's not like any other plain text editor you've ever used. So why bother learning Vim? Well, for those of us that run Unix-like operating systems, such as Linux, it makes a lot of sense. VI or Vim is installed on every Unix-like operating system out there. So you already have it on the system. On minimal installs and server installs, often Vim is the only text editor installed on the system. On minimal Linux distros, for example, I've installed many Linux distros where Vim was the only text editor on the system, and Vim was the default text editor on the system, even if there were other text editors installed. So you go to edit a config file or something at the command line, and you end up in Vim. Well, wouldn't it be nice to be familiar with Vim, to be able to do some basic editing of a file, just to make your life easier? If you're a Linux enthusiast, a Linux guru, if you're doing any kind of sysadmin work, if you're a programmer, what have you, it makes a lot of sense to at least have some familiarity with Vim. Now, why would you go beyond that? Why would you really dive into Vim and become a Vim master? It's because it's such a powerful tool. If you live in the text editor, it makes a lot of sense to really dive into Vim and learn the ins and outs because it is such a powerful tool. You can fly around these text documents, edit large chunks of text in Vim with far fewer keystrokes than you can with any other text editor. So, where do we begin learning Vim? Well, there's a couple of different neat little programs you can run to help you learn the basics of Vim. First, I'll start with a fun one. There is this web-based game called Vim Adventures. You can find it at vim-adventures.com. Vim Adventures, learning Vim while playing a game. Basically, you navigate around with the Vim keys, H, J, K, L. You enter various Vim commands along the way to solve puzzles and beat the game. So Vim Adventures is a nice little fun way to learn Vim, but by far the most common way most of us get started learning Vim is the Vim Tutor. So assuming Vim is already installed on your system, again, those of us running Linux, it should be there. If for some reason it's not, Debian and Ubuntu-based systems, sudo apt install Vim, get you Vim. If you're on an Arch-based system, sudo pacman -S Vim. Alright, assuming Vim is already on your system though, you have access to the Vim Tutor. So type all one word, Vim Tutor. Hit enter. And you are now in Vim. This is a text document in Vim called the Vim Tutor. It is basically an instruction manual for Vim. So if I arrow down here to get to the first lesson, moving the cursor, I went a little too far. I'm going to arrow back up. Now, the arrow keys. You will never use the arrow keys on your keyboard in Vim. That is a no-no. In fact, when you're first learning Vim, for a lot of people, it's a good idea to completely disable the arrow keys on your keyboard to break that habit, because we're never going to navigate with the arrow keys again. The very first lesson, lesson 1.1, moving the cursor, HJKL. HJKL are now your arrow keys. So, K to move up, L to move right, H to move left, and J to move down, K back up, etc., etc. So this is how we navigate in Vim from here on out. Why? Well, because your hands, of course, HJKL are kind of on the home row, but not really. They're actually shifted one key over from where your hands naturally rest on the home row. Your hands naturally rest on the keyboard on JKL semicolon. So why is it shifted over in Vim, HJKL being the arrow keys, basically? Well, because when this was created, the creator of Vim developed this decades ago, and the kind of computers that he developed Vim to run on were like these old school terminals they didn't have arrow keys. They didn't have all these extra keys, the arrow keys and the page up and page down. They certainly didn't have the numeric keypad and all that. As you can see, H, J, K, L on his keyboard served a double function. They also served as the arrow keys. This is why when he developed Vim, H, J, K, and L, he also developed in Vim to also serve as the arrow keys, is because that was what he was already used to. So this is what we are stuck with today. So I strongly suggest that you go through the Vim Tutor. It takes about half an hour to go through the entire Vim Tutor. It is a really nice way to quickly get up to speed with Vim. You're probably going to go through the Vim Tutor many times to really familiarize yourself with the ins and outs of Vim. I'm not going to use the Vim Tutor today. I'm actually going to exit out of the Vim Tutor because I'm not going to go exactly in the Vim Tutor order of the lessons that it teaches. So I don't want to use the Vim Tutor on screen here. I'm going to open up some random text document on my system to do my tutorial. So how do I exit out of the Vim Tutor? How do I exit out of a Vim document? There is a funny joke that, oftentimes users mistakenly launch Vim and can't figure out how to quit Vim. Well, there are a million different ways to quit Vim, oddly enough, but none of them are very intuitive. The most common way to quit a Vim document is to type colon. What does colon do? It enters you into what is called a command line mode. We can now type a command, such as the word quit. Colon quit will actually quit Vim. You don't have to type the full word quit though. Colon Q should work just fine. And we are out of Vim. So before I move on, I do want to discuss a few more ways to quit Vim. So I'm going to just quickly go back to the Vim Tutor for a second. So I just told you how to quit Vim is colon Q to quit. Now what if I wanted to quit a document without saving changes to the file? So colon Q exclamation point quits without saving the document. What if I want to write changes to the document before quitting? Colon W for write, Q to quit. So write and then quit. See how this works? Colon exit also exits Vim. Shorthand for exit would also be colon X. Now you can also exit Vim without even doing any of the command line mode. So no more entering colon and then a word. In normal mode in Vim, this also works. 2 capital Z's. So shift, hold shift, type ZZ. Also, all of those exit Vim. Some of them write the file before quitting. Some of them quit without writing the file. So for purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to open up a text file on my system to play around with and demonstrate some basic Vim commands. So I'm going to open up my Qtile config file. So I use the Qtile tiling window manager. I'm going to open up the config file for this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Now my Vim is going to look a little differently than your Vim. By default, Vim does not have the line numbers on the side here. It's very easy to add that. You edit your Vim RC file to add the line numbers. I'm going to go over that in a later video. Also, you're not going to have the power line status bar at the bottom like I do. So you will have some status stuff at the bottom, but it will not be in this fancy power line layout the way I have it. But that is just superfluous stuff. It really doesn't matter. For purposes of this tutorial, everything I discuss, all the commands are going to work in your Vim the same as my Vim. First things first, Vim is a modal text editor. What does that mean? Modal. It means it has modes. Vim has several modes. The first mode you need to know about is normal mode. You guys see at the bottom in my status bar the word normal here. You won't have the status bar, but you will also see the word normal at the bottom of your Vim. That means we are in normal mode. Why is it normal mode? Because that is the mode you should be in most of the time. That is why it's called normal mode. Now, what does normal mode do? Well, you can navigate with HJKL. You notice HJKL, now navigate. They don't actually type anything, right? I'm not adding HJKL, the actual text characters to the document. This just lets me navigate. There's other commands I could do to delete and copy and paste and move around the system. or the text document. This is normal mode. So, by the way, that command I just typed there, GG, 2 G's in a row, gets me to the top of the document. GG will always get me to the top of the document. Shift G one time will get me to the last line of the document. GG gets me to the first line of the document. So there's the very first thing to learn. Now this was in normal mode. What if I wanted to actually type a line of text? Then I have to get out of normal mode. I have to type I on the keyboard. That gets me to insert mode. See how that makes sense? I for insert mode. Now I can actually type something. I could type, this is a new line, period. And I hit enter. So I just added a new line. How do I get out of insert mode? You hit escape on the keyboard. There is a slight delay, but like a 1 second delay. You hit escape and wait about 1 second, and then it switches to normal mode. Why is there that slight delay? There's reasons for that slight delay I won't get into, but just know that when you switch from insert mode to normal mode with escape, there's a slight delay. If that slight delay bothers you, so I'm going to go back to insert mode with the I. That slight delay bothers you, just hit escape twice really quickly, and you're back in normal mode just like that. So I for insert, escape twice, gets you to normal mode, or just escape once if you don't mind waiting a second. A lot of people hate the fact that to change from normal mode to insert mode and back involves the escape key, because your hands are on the home row, and that escape key, that's kind of a far stretch if you having to use the escape key all the time. So what a lot of people like to do is remap that escape key to some other key on the keyboard. A popular choice is the caps lock key, because who uses the caps lock key anyway? And the caps lock key is right on the home row. So the caps lock key is a popular choice. What I've done is I simply use 2 I's to get back to normal mode. So I for insert, and then 2 I's in a row gets me back to normal mode. Why did I choose 2 I's? It's because there are very, very few words in the English language that have 2 I's consecutively in them. So it's not likely that you're going to type 2 I's by accident very often. So 1 I for insert, 2 I's to get back to normal mode is what I do. But by default, I for insert, escape, and then wait a second to get back to normal mode. There is a third mode we should discuss, V. Gets you to visual mode. What does visual mode do? Well, you're able to select blocks of text now. So if I type J to go down, you see I'm selecting blocks of text now. And this is very, very powerful for quickly copying, deleting, moving large chunks of text. How to get out of visual mode? The same way you got out of insert mode. Hit escape. You have to wait for the delay, 1 second delay, or just quickly escape twice without the delay. So let's play around in this text document a little bit. Let's navigate around. So HJKL moves us around in the document. So if I type L to move to the right, I'm going to go to the end of this line. I want to go back to the very first character in this line. How do I do that? Well, to get back to the first character on the line you're on, all you need to do is type 0 on the keyboard. 0 takes you back to the first character of that line. Now, if I want to navigate down the document a little bit, we've already discussed this. I want to get back to the very first line of the document. Again, GG, first line of the document. Shift G takes me to the last line of the document. GG, back to the top. Very simple. We can also use G to move around to a specific line other than GG to get to the first line and Shift G to get to the last line. We could also do something like 2 Shift G, so 2 capital G gets me to the second line. You see now my cursor went from the first line to the second line. Or what if I wanted to move to line 31 right here? 31 capital G. Now I'm on the first character of the 31st line. Very quickly navigating around, again, without having to play with the mouse, or really without even having to mess with the HJKL keys. The HJKL keys, you really, even though they navigate for you, they move you around, you're not going to use them very often once you learn the more powerful functions in Vim. So I'm going to go back to the very first line here. So I'm in normal mode. So what if I wanted to delete something? Well, X is what you use to delete characters. So you see that my cursor is on the T. Now, I'm in normal mode. If I type X on the keyboard, T is deleted. If I type X one more time, the H is deleted, and so forth and so on. How do I undo exactly what I just did? U on the keyboard. U, undo. Makes a lot of sense, right? U gets me back the S. U gets me back the I, the H, and the T. So X to delete what the character under the cursor. U always undoes. Undoes. Is that a word? Undoes? It undoes? Not sure. Anyway, U to undo what you just did. So, what if I wanted to delete something more than just one character at a time? Well, you could 2x to delete two characters. See, TH both were deleted. Undo. What 3x would delete THI and that word, undo. See how that works? If I wanted to delete a whole word, though, what do you think the key combination for delete word in Vim is? You guessed it. D for delete, W for word. You see how that works? Delete word. DW again, that word's gone. DW again, that word's gone. I'm going to undo a couple of times to get back. If I keep undoing, it'll finally tell me I'm already at the oldest change, which the oldest change eliminates the line I was playing around in. Well, that's fine. I'm going to go to a different line anyway to play around in. How about let's go to the 5th line. So 5, capital G. And I'm on the 5th line. Let's play around with this line. So we learned how to delete single characters, delete words. What if I wanted to delete a line? DD is the most common way to delete a line. 2 Ds in a row. DD, DD, DD. Let me undo. Get all those lines back. All right. So let's discuss navigating around a little more without the use of HJKL, because that only moves us one character at a time, right? We can move around one word at a time. How do we do that? The W key on the keyboard, of course, for word. Type W, it goes to the beginning character of each word. Keeps going forward. See how that works? If I wanted to go forward by word, except the last character of every word, we type E for the end of the word. So it's going to keep going forward to each word, but it's always going to be on the last character of each word. So W for word, E for end of word. Moving by word, single words, is also kind of slow. We could, move forward. How about 3 words? And it'll take me 3 words forward. See how that works? Or 20 words forward. We can really jump around in the document. You want to move backwards. B on the keyboard takes you to the first character of the preceding word. It basically is the opposite of W. W moves forward to the next word. B moves backwards to the previous word. And as always, we can add numbers to any of these commands to do multiples. So if I want to move backwards 3 times, 3B to move backwards 3 words. Move forward 5 words. If I want to delete 10 lines, I could 10 DD, right? I just deleted 10 lines. I need to undo that. I can undo, but I could also undo everything I've done ever in this document. How about 5 undos? That gets me all the way back to the very beginning where the document is exactly how we started. Heck, I could even add those number keys to the HJKL. So if I wanted to move right with the L key, instead of just doing it a single character at a time, I could do 10 L and it would move me over 10 characters. Or 10 J to move down 10 characters, etc., etc. So let's discuss the put command, which is P on the keyboard for put. So I'm going to go back to the top of the document. GG gets, well, I didn't have focus on the window here. GG gets me to the top of the document here. What if I wanted to delete that very first line? DD deletes it. Now, what if I want to place that line somewhere else? Well, how about this empty space right here on line 17? That's where I want to put that line that I just deleted. Well, first of all, I'm going to shift actually not shift, I'm going to 17 shift G. So 17 capital G gets me to line 17, and then I type P on the keyboard. And you see it puts that text, actually it put it on line 18, it puts it on the line after. If I wanted it on line 17, I would have to enter insert mode, I, and then backspace. And now I'm on line 17. To get out of insert mode, again, escape. Wait a second, and we're back in normal mode. As always, you know, with these commands, I could have added numbers both to the delete command and the put command if I wanted to copy and paste large chunks of text. So I'm going to undo a few times to get back to where I was. What if I did 10 DD, delete 10 lines? Then I'm going to go to, I don't know, line 10. So 10, capital G, and then do a put. You see it put those 10 lines that we deleted, starting on line 11. It pasted them right there. So P for the put command. So I'm going to undo everything I did. I'm back at the top of the document. I'm going to type I to go into insert mode. I'm going to type a line of text about this is a line of text. And escape to get back into normal mode. I mistyped something. I typed this is a loan of text. That doesn't make any sense. Let's change that. Let's discuss R, which is the replace function here in Vim. So if I go over to O, which needs to be I, to replace O with I type R for replace, and then the letter I. See how that works? The last command I want to discuss on part 1 of the Vim tutorial is the change command. The change command, you need to type C on the keyboard for change. So change equals C. Makes sense, right? So I have this very first line. This is a line of text. What if I wanted to change that to that is a line of text? Well, I would type C for change, E for end of word, and this is gone, right? It basically deleted this to the end of the word, and it automatically puts me into insert mode. I didn't have to type I to get into insert mode. The change command automatically puts you in insert mode. That way you can quickly type that, right? And then escape to get back to normal mode. So if I want to get back to the top of the document here, that is a line of text. What if I wanted to go back to this as a line of text again? CE for change to the end of the word. It automatically puts me into insert mode. Type this, escape, back into normal mode again. If I wanted to change more than just one word, what if I wanted to change an entire line of text? C for change, and then dollar symbol for the entire line. It deletes the entire line and places me into insert mode so I can write the new line. This is the new line! Exclamation point. Hit escape to get back to normal mode. So that concludes this part 1 of the Vim tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Before I go, I do have to tell you guys about some special people. This show was made possible by Ansem, Carlos, Chris, David, Leor, Rob, and Tony. They are the producers of the show. They are my highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. This show is also brought to you by all those fine ladies and gentlemen. You see all those names on the screen. They are the supporters of this channel. Without them, none of this would be possible. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.